in this exercise, we'll go over rerouting edges so that we can achieve a desired type of deformation in whatever model it is that we're working on. So let's go ahead and open up Maya, and this is 11 begin, and this is the beginning of exercise 4. So when we're talking about the flow of the edges, and I've just got one side here that we're going to be concentrating on. This side is going to be, you can see there's kind of a seam there. This is just an instance of this side. So all the work that we're going to be doing is going to be over here, and then we'll be able to see that reflected on the other side. And let's go ahead and turn on wireframe on shaded just so we get a better idea of the edge flow. So you can see that the edges form a certain flow. You can see there are sort of loops around the eyes and around the mouth, and then we have edges flowing along the face and then coming along in this direction. And those edges serve to kind of create the form. So you're creating the shapes that you see, the ear, the silhouette of the nose, the different shapes that you see, but they also let you know where you're able to deform your object. So for instance, if we come up to the cheek, we know that we have one edge here to be able to deform, because the only place that the model is going to be able to move are at these places where we have edges and vertices. Those are the only places where really the model is going to be able to bulge and deform. For instance, if you needed to have some sort of a deformation occur in this area, there's really no resolution in this direction to be able to bend that polygon. You can see this is a straight edge from point to point. So unless you're doing some sort of subdivision or smoothing, you don't really have the opportunity to bend at that spot. So when we're talking about something like the head, there are certain areas where we really want to be able to deform the model in a very specific way. For instance, we want to be able to have wrinkles around the eyes. We also want to be able to have a nice kind of laugh line coming down from behind the nose to sort of around the mouth. So when the character smiles, we can get that nice bulge. Let's kind of take a look at what that looks like. So you can kind of see this line coming up in here. It kind of comes around, starts sort of behind the nostril, and you can sort of see this indentation right in here, and then there's kind of a bulge just on the outside of it, of where the flesh kind of pokes out. And so as this mouth is kind of pinned back, the muscles pull it back into a smile. This flesh sort of continues to bulge up and creates a more intense smile line or laugh line that comes out. And that, as the smile enlarges, the position of that line moves, but you want to definitely be able to have an edge loop in that position to be able to define that. And you want to have more than one, because you're looking at an edge that's defined right here, and then you want to be able to bulge that flesh on the outside of that to create that sort of bulge on the side there. So you want to have a couple of edge loops, and you want them to flow up, and really they come kind of behind the nostril and over the nose. So if we take a look at this model, and we can see that we do have loops for the mouth, but the line here isn't necessarily conducive to getting that deformation that we want. You can see we can create a crease right here, and we can create one right here, but coming from behind the nose, it kind of goes back along the cheek. And so what we can do is actually reroute geometry in those cases where it's not reflecting what we'd like our model to be able to do. So in this case, we have kind of a corner defined kind of up here in the mouth, and so what we'd like to do is kind of route this loop kind of up and over the nose. So how can we start to do that? Well, we just need to start moving these loops up, and in many cases that's going to cause these loops to be moved up above that. Okay, so let's go ahead and start by just using our split polygon tool. I'll go ahead and use the split polygon tool, and I'm actually going to start by drawing this line right up here by moving this up. So we're kind of moving things out of the way to be able to draw these up on the top. So let's go ahead, and I'll just kind of take this from a point where I can start from and kind of draw this up and over the nose. Then we can come in here, delete that, maybe delete that one, and we can start to make some room for some of these bits here. Now I only move that one up one, so that gives us the opportunity to take this corner up here if we continue on down the line. So what we want to do is I want to do that one more time. So I'm actually going to start, you can see we're starting to get some lines in here that are really, really close together. So I'm going to go ahead and take some of these lines and just move them out from one another. I'm just using the normal move axis to do that. Again, we're just kind of creating some room in here to be able to work. We'll keep that down here. Okay, kind of move this up a little bit. So now we can go ahead and take, again, moving this up in the same way, moving this up and over the nose. Okay, and then we can take this point and sort of move it up. All right, so now we've got these lines here coming from the spot where we want them to come from, but kind of behind the nose there. So now we need to get these down in the right location. So let's just work our way down. So coming down here, we see this is the next one in line. So I'll go ahead and use the split polygon tool. And I come across, I'm just going to draw it kind of straight up into that area and hit the next one down so it kind of comes across in that way. Okay, I'll go ahead and delete that edge. Now I'll just kind of clean things up by moving this out of the way just a little bit. All right, now I can come in from the next corner down, come up here and attach it to there. All right, now because we've moved these loops up, we need somewhere for these loops to go. And so we can actually just continue those along the face here. So instead of drawing this down to this corner, I'll continue it around the face. And I can go ahead and kind of move that around to get it in a little bit of a better position here. And then this one as well. So we're kind of leaving the ends kind of alone, but we are rerouting sort of where those end up. Okay, and we have two coming down here, so if you want to just continue that along, it's going to eventually end up meeting on the other side. Same thing here, or you could cut that off before it gets there. But then you could come in here and kind of space out this geometry. And you can decide if that's close enough, if that line's going to be close enough to the edge of your mouth. You can see our mouth is pretty small, and so it might not even be close enough, so you may need to take some of these points, and we're just using, again, the normal move. You may need to take some of these and move them in so that that line is close enough to the edge of the mouth, so it's not just completely on the perimeter there. Okay, but you can see how that geometry now flows from around outside the edge here. It flows up and sort of over the nose, so that we could come in here now, and if we wanted to, at this point, it's probably not going to be too prominent, but we could come in here. We've got a couple of lines. We could go ahead and draw those out. Now, even looking at this, you may want to actually continue this on around so that you can get that line continues. Right now, it kind of terminates at that pole. So in that case, you could continue that line around, and we could just go ahead and get our split polygon tool and draw that right down there. You know, continue that along, and that gives you a complete line that comes all the way down and around the chin. Then you have a triangle here that you can deal with in a few different ways. We could come up here and again space this out a little bit if we wanted to continue it up and over the nose. You could take that line from this corner, draw it over across that base. Oops, let me go ahead and get that. And draw this up and over. Okay, we'll go ahead and stop it there. But that gives you that kind of more continuous line going around the chin, which mimics a little bit better the kind of deformation that we might want to occur. Now, there are other ways of getting rid of that triangle or n-gon there. You could draw a line up into the eye if you wanted to, if you needed more resolution there, which may be a good option to do. Okay. So that's a look at how we can start to reroute geometry. Now, this is one of the more maybe common examples, but really, it really depends on your character. If you have a character that its arms move in a very specific way, and it needs to deform in a very specific way, then you may have the same problem. That is, it's something completely custom. But the main idea is that you need, if you're going to have a deformation occur somewhere, you need to have resolution there. You need to have points there. You need to have edges there so that you can actually make that deformation occur. Because if it's occurring somewhere where the edge flow doesn't match, or you don't have enough edges there, then it's not going to be possible, and you're going to have to either change what you want to do with that character, or you're going to have to go back to the modeling stage and redraw it so that you do have the opportunity to deform it in whatever way that you want to happen. Okay, so as we go through this process, again, I'll reiterate that there are hints that you can take a look at as you start your assignment in the next lesson, but I'd also encourage you not to take a look at those. And this is not going to be necessarily a complete right or wrong answer. The main idea that I want you to get is the fact that you can take an existing model and reroute those edges. It just takes a little bit of forethought and a little bit of work in getting that looking the way that you want it to. But the main idea, again, is that you want to get those edges flowing in the direction where that deformation is going to occur, because otherwise you're going to be fighting against your topology the whole time. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the next part of this exercise, where you'll actually look at a new example file and start to do your own practice work on that. So we'll go ahead and do that next.